Laurent Cohen is the founder and CTO of GetOblic, a voice-first AI platform that is currently helping local businesses never miss a customer call. That resonates with you, and I'm sure it does, because most people do not want to miss customer calls. Then this is the episode to listen to. With over 20 years of entrepreneurial and technical leadership across Europe and the US, Lauren is now building AI tools that handle real phone conversations, book appointments, and capture leads. Well, let's use this word, automatically. Lauren helps business owners understand how to use practical AI to save time, recover missed revenue, and, of course, simplify daily operations. These are all of the key things that a lot of us are tussling with day in, day out right now. So welcome to the podcast, Lauren.
Thank you for having me, Neil. It's a real pleasure being here, and we really love digging into every single aspect of what AI requires to be integrating any workflow.
Absolutely. And I think for me, just probably the starting point is AI. Wow. I mean, if we were having this conversation maybe 18, 24 months ago, we would not be talking about some of the things that we're talking about now. It is just, and I know this stuff really accelerates and moves very, very quickly, but it's moving faster than anything I've ever encountered, in my professional life now, 4 decades in now. And yet this is the fastest, most exciting time to be in business, I reckon. What do you think?
Well, it is. I guess 18 months ago, we would have been speaking about Will Smith eating a bowl of spaghettis, right? So as far as things are changing, the dynamics here. And likewise, I've been going through everything from the first internet connection I've had in 1993 throughout the emergence of Google, social media, SEO, SEM, every single aspect. And I used to tell people that were asking me about the digital world that we had this 7-year cycle at some point, 93 to 2000, where things were growing. Then we had the bubble, then Google came out, then 2007, we had the iPhone and social media, and 2014, we started to move into video streaming, which was not, believe it or not, for younger people listening, we had some time where we could not see a video over the phone, and then now we cannot even speak about cycles. There's no more cycles. Every day is a new cycle. And actually, this is amazing. But also, I'd warn everybody that is using AI today to be highly careful about every single thing you're listening online, every single post you see on X, on Instagram, wherever you name it, on YouTube, where you have this sense of being overwhelmed by all those information. Oh, Claude is coming with new version. Google is coming with Gamma. What do I do with this? And as a business owner, when you're focusing on what you are building and the purpose of what you are building, you can very quickly be overwhelmed. So first thing, Neil, regarding that matter, I think that if you're building something and if you're focused on what you're building, choose the tool that work for you and keep them. Do not try to race yourself and dig yourself into getting the new shiny object, because you will lose yourself. And I think that's a priority that everyone should be focusing on. As far as what I do, I tend to get very physically upset, when I open X and I see those people explaining that they have the latest tool and they built in 24 hours a $20 million company. First of all, I know exactly what they're doing, right? But still, nevertheless, you think, what am I doing? I'm still working with ChatGPT. I'm just using Gemini. I have Olama with you name it. Well, no, I'm fine with it now. I keep a distance with every single shiny tool, and I think everybody should do the same.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think this whole idea of investing your time and energy in building the relationship with the chosen AI, be it Gemini, Claude, GPT, to me right now, it doesn't really matter. I've gone in this process of sort of creating what we call skills folders, where basically you have a conversation with the AI that you've chosen, and you get it to figure out with you all the skills and memory, the things that it's learned about you, kind of basically building the blueprint of the relationship that you have with it, and then export that so that that relationship becomes portable just in case the relationship with that AI is out of your control, taken away from you. So if your chosen AI suddenly goes out of business, or if they change the algorithm and suddenly it's not performing in the way that you had it before, that skills folder, all that memory, all of those wonderful things that you've crafted over the months or years even, can then be portable and go with you. Do you think those kinds of portable skills are going to be the way that we are going to then be able to move, if we need to, amongst AIs?
Neil, I think we had that thing in common. I tell the audience right now, we didn't talk about that earlier before the podcast, but I called them operational books, app books, and literally every single major step, which come almost every day, is a potential update to my app books or new app books. And I definitely export them. I require the LLM to integrate it in its knowledge base, although it's not enough. And my first thing I do when I jump into a task or I continuing a task is uploading your book back to make sure that not only the information is accurate as far as what we're starting, but when I dig into a subject and I start asking questions to the LLMs, I believe that every other question starts with, let's do it safely and it's best practice. I keep repeating those words. I keep ensuring that the LLMs exactly knows that I require. And funny thing enough, LLMs start to know me. You say, now I know how you work. Now I know that you want safe practice, that you want best practice, but want safe way, to do it. And those single little thing, funny enough, I think I like to say that now in the AI era, it's, elder people, I'm 54, we were kind of discarded from the workplace for years. It was the time of the young gun, with the hoodie and the best coder around. Now we're facing a new world where it's not about how good you're coding. It's about how a problem solver you are, how good a problem solver you are. And problem solving mostly comes with experience, right? And when you've been through it all, and that's exactly what you're mentioning now, when you think about it, what you're doing and what I'm doing come from the old days when we just had folders in our computers, and now we didn't went to AI school. You did not, and I did not. But it only makes sense that when you reach a threshold in the knowledge and building that you're doing in the AI, that you want to structure that. And the only way to structure that is to say, hey, create the app book, deliver the PDF, I'm going to download it, and we're going to pursue it. So you see, having this mindset comes from prior working before the AI era. And I think this is something people should really be reminded of.
It is fascinating, isn't it, Laurent? Because when I started to do it, I've literally only done mine this past weekend. So it really is, information hot off the press for me, because it was fascinating just watching ChatGPT, which is my go-to AI, and it was fascinating watching her, and I'll call her because it's fun. I name her. She's in a professional relationship with me, and we're kind of doing a load of different sort of professional work together. But when she was revealing what she knows about me in the relationship that we have, AI to human, it was fascinating, the depth of information. It was almost like I was hearing my inner kind of voice, my inner conscience talking about me. It was at a level of detail that I didn't realize until I started asking her to tell me what you know about me. What skills have you learned about me that you'd need to preserve if you were going to pass your skill over, or if I was going to pick you up and then move you to a different platform? And what she was recalling, it blew me away. It was so detailed, but so accurate. It was almost that she knew more about me than I knew about me. Fascinating discovery.
Many things to say here. And first of all, I say her too because she annoys me a hell, but I love her. So I don't know if you understand what I'm going into, but let's be more serious here for a minute. But first of all, you are 100% right. I always tell people about AI. It has definitely made me a better worker, and it had made me a better person. And you know why? Because I like to compare AI to money. Let me explain you why. Both are currencies. Money by itself is neither good nor bad. Same as AI. AI is neither good nor bad. Now, AI requires judgment. Money requires judgment. You receive an amount of money. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to be safe? Are you going to spend it crazy? Or are you just going to live a regular life? Same as AI. How are you going to consume AI? Are you going to consume it intensively? Are you going to use judgment, human judgment, or not? You know, now money can buy you resources, can pay for human resources, can pay for commodities. Well, AI can buy you agents, which are also resources. And AI can provide you with knowledge without a cost. So, and lastly, money, as you know, kind of emphasize as a human who you are. You know, when you have little money and you're a good person, well, when you get more money, you're a better person. Well, AI is the same. If you're a good person and you know how to handle that kind of absolute knowledge, you become a better version of yourself. Now, you know, you've heard it all about all those sycophony, you know, about AI that can tell you you're the best, you're beautiful. Well, if you have that kind of ego inside of you, AI will also emphasize that and turn things pretty badly. So both are currencies in the way I'm seeing them. And now I think that's where it gets very positive in a way, because you understand now by giving this analysis, if you share it with me, that the human layer on top of the AI is not only obvious and indispensable, but AI in itself is useless. So we're not going to be consumed by AI because AI, although people think AI are communicating with other AI and replace us, you know, we will have as a species, human species, defense system that's going to happen. And now I'm shifting into another subject slightly, although it's the same big thing, you know. Uh, for instance, we are working into voice AI, right? And the technology in itself is very mature. Voice AI not only can replicate voice, clone voice, it can understand the user's emotion. Uh, it works 24/7. It speaks multiple language. You know, it's omniscience. Nevertheless, when we created our platform, we ask ourselves, do we offer our customers the cloning service? We decided not to do it. And let me tell you why. When you have a business, especially a small business, you've been building your business based on one factor, the trust that's been built between you, the business owner, and the customer. That trust is based on one thing, your voice. And when I say voice, this is only the voice that comes from your mouth. This is the voice of who you are, how you speak, what created the relationship that makes the person coming back to you again and again and again. Now, let's imagine that one day you decide to integrate voice AI, which is a great idea. But you say, okay, I want my voice, you know? And then you have these customers that has been connecting with you for years now that picks up the phone and starts interacting with the AI, thinking he's interacting with Neil, you know, and it takes only maybe 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 4 calls to understand that, well, this is not Neil. And Neil didn't disclose the fact that he's using AI. Now there's a little break of trust here that is fundamental. Why do I say this, Neil? Because I do think that the more AI gets perfected, the more it gets, you know, blurred between reality and what's not real. You know, as a human, we will be looking for flaws. And when I'm talking about flaws, I'm not talking about technical flaws. As far as the service, it has to be flawless. But as far as what's it being the perception of AI, you know, we're gonna need to disclose this. And I believe strongly, I might be totally wrong, but I believe that the future of AI is disclosing that we're using AI. You know, we're gonna have a different system. We're gonna open our social media. We're gonna see these videos that look exactly at reality. And we're going to say, you know what? It's not perfect. I'm going to still, browse and find something that is just with a little bit of flaws and a little bit natural. So there's a whole discussion here. And the lastly, because that's also part of the same subject, when I see people that, there's a lot of AI bashing these days. And when I hear people that say, I'm afraid of AI will replace us and I don't know what to do with AI, I don't know how to integrate AI in my business, I say, you know what? Don't think you're going to learn AI. Let AI teach you things. If you don't know what to do with AI, open an LLM, choose it, ChatGPT, Gemini, you name it. I don't care. But don't think you're sitting down in front of a computer trying to train yourself with AI. Ask a question. What do you like? You like music? You like cooking? You like astronomy? Start digging with it. Engage with AI. And in the process of learning, you're going to learn how AI works. And now we're circling back to what you mentioned, the kind of, okay, now not only AI knows stuff, not only AI can be wrong and I need to apply judgment, but now AI starts to know who I am and the relationship is getting stronger. And I think that's the first step to integrate AI. Know who's in front of you, the lady AI, how she knows you, how you can interact. And then, funny enough, you're kind of building trust too. You know the limitation, and now you can dig into something which is much more fundamental, which is, okay, now I'm going to integrate it in my workflow.
I want to come on to the customer-facing voice AI a little bit later, but just in terms of the building of the relationship with your chosen AI, did you feel when you first encountered voice that that was the game changer? That was the moment where suddenly you moved from, I don't know, say 3 out of 10 up to maybe 8 or 9 out of 10 in the relationship with AI? Because for me, as soon as that ability to click on the voice option rather than be typing in, it just, everything changed because of that human type of interaction with the AI. Was that a similar thing for you?
Definitely. The voice layer in itself, not even talking about AI yet, is a funny thing. First of all, 130 years ago, Edison created the phone, Bell. They created the phone, which is a crazy invention, right? Now, you pay for a service, and then they provide you 10 digits, and from that moment on, anybody can call you at any time and just disturb you without your expectation. That's crazy. So now we've been building businesses and relationship through that voice channel, right? And then with the coming of the digital era, we started emailing more, writing more, which, by the way, when I remember when I was a kid, my parents said, you don't read anymore, you don't write anymore, you just talk over the phone. Well, no, by 93, we were only typing, and then SMS came and WhatsApp came. There was no more of the voice layer. But now the technology has reached a point where the voice layer comes back with a vengeance. And now we understand that we were missing something, and I think this will only get better, and not only in quality but in intensity. Elon is going to probably, like he said, build billions of robots, and I'm pretty sure we're going to interact with them using voices. We're not going to type on our keyboards. So the voice layer will be definitely the next big channel of communication.
And it's different, isn't it? It kind of, I know when people say, oh, AI, it'll never be human, but it's human enough once you get into a conversation with it to serve a need, isn't it? Because you can talk about the research, you can analyze that report, you can, figure out the next marketing campaign, you can discuss, your financial situation of your business, or, anything in terms of personal interests, as you were talking about before. It's kind of it's quite a human thing to do, is to have those kinds of conversations. And whilst that it's an AI that you're talking to, because it's voice, it's almost, you forget, you just move into this kind of mindset as the human that it's fine, it's enough. I get enough in the relationship that means it doesn't really matter anymore if it's AI or human. Is that just a natural, almost subconscious thing that we're doing?
It does get very personal. It does get, you probably, first of all, there's this notion of synchronicity, real synchronicity. We used not too long ago had medium of channels of communication that were still, although very short time, but very asynchronized. You know why? Let's say you talk with a chatbot, right? This is the closest thing before the AI era to voice AI. Obviously it will reply to you in seconds, but still there's always this option to just stop the conversation. I will reply in my own term, or I will wait until a reply. But now with voice AI, this is totally synchronized. So the engagement comes from a different level. That's not only the brain, but also the emotion. That's okay. Now engaging with that LLM, which is almost like a human. And if that engagement goes far enough, uh, I will go with it. And that's a challenge when you're working with AI, or actually not even working, when you're really digging a subject that's important for you. We've all that for anybody that's working enough with AI, those sensations when you start digging a subject at 10 p.m. and by 3 a.m. you're still in it, because it challenges you. And again, that's when I say it makes you a better person and a better human. You want to know more. You're exploring sides and effect of the relationship that were not even existing as a communication layer on chatbots, or obviously Google in itself. When you were searching, at the end of the day, you only dig as far as you want. Now LLM challenges you. They feed you the spoon and say, go, let's go for some more. And that's smart in a way, because there's not an answer that doesn't end with another offer of going further. So it's beautiful. I love it.
So when it's a one-to-one relationship, so your AI, my AI, and we're talking to them individually, one-to-one, well, one human to one AI, I understand that sort of relationship. The thing that I've yet to do using voice, so I have done this now with various kind of AI assistants, where I've invited more than one AI sort of into the same conversation, but not through voice, into the same conversation through written prompts and a little bit of automation. But what happens when you are maybe you're a small business owner, so it is just you, or maybe you and one other human, and you invite at least two AIs along to maybe the monthly meeting to review the numbers, to work on, what customers you're going to target next month, or all those kinds of very practical things. What happens if you're almost outnumbered by the AIs? So they're kind of either assistants or agents, they're coming in, they're talking in the meetings as well, because this is possible now. You can actually do this now. And I think there's going to be more kind of momentum building towards this, particularly in small businesses where they don't have maybe the money to be able to increase the headcount and employ staff, so they know that they can do this with AI. When you're outnumbered by AI, what happens then? Because there could be almost this weight of opinion where the AIs actually overrule the humans just because of the sheer number of them. Do you think we'll get to a point where that is the case?
Let's start with the beginning now. AI in itself is leveling the game for small businesses. This is obvious. When you have an assistant that can speak multiple languages, that can work 24/7, that understands emotion, which you as a human understand, but cannot necessarily apply on a daily basis. I mean, the way you react to your customers on Monday at 9 a.m., the same thing that on Friday at 7 p.m., so you have this level of managing emotions, and even your employees have facing the same situation. So now you're leveling the game, okay? And basically what happens with AI in general is that as a small business, you're moving from emergency mode, which they're living on a daily basis. They don't have annuals, they don't have quarterlies, they don't have boards, they just have themselves, their ideas, their energy, and what happened next month is a vague idea, but it's not really structured. Do the customer will come back? We'll have a hurricane. I live in Florida. you, you those 30,000 employee company don't have the same problem. They have other problems, not those ones. So now you're moving from emergency mode to the ability to rely and leveling the game with AI to moving to growth mode. So in that way, which by the way is the same thing that happened every single time we have a technology revolution, it's positive. No, it will only get better. We will have issue with some people losing their job. We will have drastic changes, but it will create growth and wealth. I'm convinced. So now you have that first thing. Now let's go exactly to what you mentioned. Now that you've integrated AI within your workflows, now that you move into growth, you are exactly facing the same issue that we've used to create to face as a business owner before the AI era. You start hiring. How do you learn from being a solopreneur to being a bootstrapper? And now you need to hire 10 person. Do you know how to manage the 10 person? Well, this is a very complicated task, Neil. You know, so it used to be that before AI, it's going to be the same with AI. So what you're going to need? You're going to need guardrails. You're going to need management. You're going to be to educate yourself. Remember what I said? Uh, we had the need to educate ourselves before the AI era. Now we also need to educate ourselves, except that we also have AI to educate ourselves. You know, so overall, thinking that because they are AI, because they are very smart, they're gonna overwhelm us or take over us or put us in a position. I would argue that before the AI era, when you had to hire 10 people in your company because you're growing, you were facing pretty hard issues I've had in my career. I know that I love going from 0 to 50. That's where I strive. I like to be creative, you know. And when you become very structured, and you have to go into the different dynamics of the company, you know, the water cooler dynamics, you know, all those things, you know, those are something that you need to teach yourself, to educate yourself about. Well, it's the same with AI.
It's interesting, isn't it, that we're seeing almost history repeating itself here. You talked a little earlier about all the various phases of, the digital evolution over the decades, and yet what we're seeing here is still typical business practice. It just happens to be non-human, but the same kind of principles still apply. So, as you say, those kind of older, wiser kind of people who've kind of been there, seen it, and done it before are probably in the driving seat. They have the advantage because they'll understand that. Do you think somebody without that knowledge, though, is going to really be viewing this in a very kind of fresh new way, and maybe using AI, maybe a single kind of AI agent, to then be managing the whole team, which then doesn't need the human to be managing all the AIs, because maybe they'll kind of just view how to scale a business full of AI agents in a different way to our kind of old, more traditional models? Do you think they'll kind of rethink how business is structured?
We've been hearing a lot about the $1 man billion company lately, and I believe it's true. I believe it's something that is happening, not will happen. Is happening. Nevertheless, we have to put things into perspective. This $1 billion company is something that is will be secluded inside the digital realm. We will still have to engage front and center with humans, because until now they still are the customers we're working with. So when you accept this, you understand that, as you said, Neil, this is always the same story. You know, if you build a company solely focusing on the solution you're building, not mining what's front and center, which are the customers, you do not have a business. You have a project. As you may have worked for 2 years, you may have invested hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. At the end of the day, until you confront your customers, you face what they have to say about your solution, and those are humans, you do not have a business. So yeah, there will be companies, 100% AI, and but by the way, and we've seen that already, we already getting out of this agentic, not gigantic, agentic move from people building agents and disappearing in a minute because there was an update on Google Gemini, that made their solution obsolete. So this is why also when I started building my latest company, I went away from that. I say, you know what? Agents, LLMs, we have the big seven building them. We have Anthropic, we have 11 Lab for Voice. Let's rely on their solution. I'm going to run solution. My focus is to bring this technology because they have immense, infinite amount of resources and money. Let them build the core. I'm going to do what I knew best. Take that solution, that technology, make it a solution and provide it to human. And I think that's what's going to be viable in the future.
And I mean, that seamlessly then weaves us into kind of the work that you're doing in terms of voice, the customer facing voice kind of use of AI. Give us a flavor of where you see that going, because I think we all know we've all used websites with, chatbots, and increasingly now voice-based chatbots right across the web. Is there a real pattern, do you feel, of kind of almost like a trend in a particular direction that we all need to be aware of? In other words, where should we be putting our attention as marketers or business owners?
When you are building a company that is so-called an AI company, you very quickly reminded that your main work on the daily basis has hardly anything to do with AI. Obviously, I work with agents that are supporting me. Obviously, the core of my solution is AI. But you know what is I spend most of my day on? Datas, automation, and workflows. And again, Neil, we keep, it's very interesting discussion we're having now. We keep entering AI and coming out with old world reality. What is a workflow? Well, it's a way to communicate between employees. We've done that for years, before the AI. What data? Of course, we had data. We used to have data on Excel or on databases. Before we had folders, remember, on shelves. So data, workflow, automations, those are the core things. That is because the AI is only as strong as those things. So you'll be reminded soon enough, if you're working into the AI world, that if you solely rely on the LLMs and the agent, you're not going to go very far.
It's interesting, isn't it, really? So the whole point here being, you've got to understand your business, you've got to understand your, as you say, the processes. But I mean, process mapping in itself has become almost an industry of its own, really, in terms of helping organizations really delve deeply into their systems and the way that they operate. Because if you don't know that, how can you expect an AI to come in and work magic if you don't even understand how to, literally map your own process to be able to brief the AI? Because, yeah, I think that a lot of people are expecting, if I just integrate AI and just use that phrase integrate, everything will get sorted. But there is some hard yards to work on here, aren't there, really? It's not just a case of you subscribe to ChatGPT Pro and then your life has changed. There's a lot of kind of actual hard work to be done to get this working properly.
You don't say, Neil, you don't say. But I'll say that the first mistake I've made, and I've made for weeks, and I dare to believe that everybody has been going through that, is that when you start using LLMs and prompting, especially, you tend to make heavy prompting, to provide the LLM with as much information, unstructured information, conversational information. And you want to do a subject with the LLM, you have a prompt, and this prompt is literally 200 lines or 400 lines or 1,000 lines. And the more you get into understanding how the whole thing works, you understand that prompting in itself, and please, anybody here, listen to me. Prompting need to be very thin. Let the AI do what it does. Let the AI do the thinking. But then, with that very thin and light prompting, you engage with data, as much data, structured data, automation, again, workflows. You have all this old world structure that is feeding a very simple prompt that says, hey, you know what? I prepared the ground for you. Do the work. That's how I see it, and it works pretty good.
So is that kind of almost giving the accountability and the autonomy actually to the AI, and sort of saying, look, I've got a view of where this might be going, but I'm going to give you the raw information. I'm not going to bias you. I'm not going to steer you in a particular direction. Give me the optimum outcome. because it might actually come back with something that means you have to pivot your whole business because the answer might not be what you expect at all. Giving an AI free rein like that, is that sensible? Is that healthy? Is it safe to do that?
Not at all. Not at all. And I certainly maybe didn't express myself precisely. First of all, I've been a business owner long enough to know that two things are essential when you build business and you've been doing this successfully. First is believe your gut feeling and intuition all the way. Second, be accountable. Now, if you think that the LLM gonna go against your intuition and be accountable, now you certainly don't have a business. No, I am still accountable for everything I do, not the LLM, and I don't let the LLM counter my intuition. I have set guardrails. What I was saying earlier is we have a task, a working task. Like, you have an employee. He has to do something. He's an accountant in your company. He's a HR in your company. You have to do this task. Let me give you the tool. Do your task and come back to me and let's apply judgment. Remember what I said earlier, Neil? Let's apply judgment. So no, I will certainly not let the LLM be accountable for our projects.
But is that all then going to just give us an ability to scale what we already have? I'm curious as to whether or not this is the big moment for the more creative, let's say the more entrepreneurial business person or marketer to really stretch out beyond the rest of the pack. Because a lot of us, we just repeat what we've always done. A lot of us, we copy what the competitor down the street is doing. A lot of us, we work from textbook definitions that almost put in guardrails or boundaries that restrain us from being creative and thinking differently and innovating. Is this not, I just want to kind of counter and just test your hypothesis there. Is this not the opportunity to say, hey, AI, you know everything about everything that's ever happened in the world, ever. And I've got this situation. Just go be creative just for a minute. We may or may not do it. And so I'll stay accountable, but give me something exciting to work with. Is that possible?
I consider myself a creative person, right? And there's this misconception in the workplace where people think that creative people are not rigorous. Creative people don't know math. Creative people do not know technology. Well, I totally disagree. I strongly believe I'm creative. I wake up with an idea per day, or when I say an idea, you think about something the night before and you have the solution coming up by thinking differently, right? But it doesn't mean I'm not rigorous. So as far as working with agents, I apply my creativity, but I also apply rigor. If you combine both and you add the layer we were earlier discussing, which is accountability and gut feelings, now you have to be scared of anything. Just let's go dig it. Let's dig together. Let's find the gem, and I will decide if the gem we found has some value or not.
That's interesting then. So I think what we're saying here then, and I wanted to just kind of test what you were saying there, Laurent, being honest, but I think one of the things I think that you're saying then is that this hybrid approach, if we were to call it that, feels like it's probably going to give us the best output. So, if I kind of think of my preferences and the skills that I bring as a human into my work, there are gaps. There are certain things. So I would never describe myself as creative. I don't feel that I'm a creative business person or marketer. But what I am is an alchemist. So I can take your creative idea and I can make it better. That's kind of what I see as my role. But I would then be looking to use maybe AI as the creative engine. So if I wasn't working, say, with a human who might be creative, I've got business colleagues who are creative, so they'll probably be doing this. But if I was working on a particular project by myself, I'd bring AI in to almost fill the gaps of the things that I didn't feel I was strong in, so that I then have a creative AI to come in and give me the idea. Then I'll own the idea, I'll alchemize it, make it way, way better. And then maybe together, then we launch it. But I kind of feel that's a more hybrid approach to working.
This is very interesting, Neil. I would challenge the fact that in itself, the LLMs are creative. They make you believe they're creative. They are very good at it too. You know, and obviously that's your thing. They're very good at making you believe that what you are saying, what they are saying, is very innovative, and they're also very good at finding ideas that you didn't even know could exist. So that's kind of a trap a lot of people are falling into. They start digging and they hear about something that is presented to themselves as something very innovative by the LLMs, and they think, "Wow! Not only I put the little grain in the soil, but now the LLM find me the next golden rose." I don't think so. I don't think so. First of all, the LLMs in themselves are only a average amount of knowledge, not even the best. They make you believe they provide you the best, but they provide you only the average of what's existing, And they have, again, the psychophony tendency, to expose what they're saying into something that is beautiful. I would be very aware of that. I would be, okay. Remember what I said. It makes you a better worker and a better person. Once you know who you're talking to, once you know how to apply judgments, now I'm following you now. Now you can create altogether something very innovative. But it will only feed you with cacophony and telling you you're most beautiful and your idea is perfect and let's go and you're gonna be a billionaire. So no, be aware of that. I mean, not you, but anybody that's new to AI.
It's almost irresistible, though, isn't it? I think for a lot of us, because of this kind of affirmation we get, unless you tell it not to compliment you all the time and to challenge everything and to come back, not necessarily negatively, but with alternative views and not to just agree all the time with everything that you say. Unless you do that, it is almost, I think, for some people quite irresistible. It's like, well, AI loves me because everything I put into it, it says I'm good. And there's almost like an ego thing coming into play here, isn't there? Is that the danger that you're worried about? The fact that we are going to, en masse, get swept along by this wave of mediocrity and just being average, because average is now the new kind of benchmark?
Most certainly. I've seen it, and not that long ago, on one person, on a personal level, actually, not on a work level. And I've seen the person turn into psychotic because of the AI. But my analysis is still the same. This is only exacerbating who he was. AI didn't turn him to what he turned out to be. AI just emphasized what he already was. And I think that's something that once you accept it or believe in it, now you see things more clearly. It's a currency of emotion. So this person was not necessarily the best person to get into. Now he's found himself talking with AI, saying what his idea were the best, and he comes out to the world saying, "Well, you know what? I'm the best." Well, you're not, bro. Nothing changed. You're just talking to a screen. So there's a big danger here. I agree. But just to balance that danger, I'd say those person are there already, and they're probably already hurting people. And when I say hurting people, know who they are and the emotion they convey or whatever happened in their world happens already. Now, maybe good thing is that AI say put a finger on it, and now you're not even hiding it anymore. Now we know who you are.
It will be very interesting to see over time how that starts to, I guess, change the way that AIs respond to us, because the default setting has been very positive. It's been very affirmative. It's kind of said, most things are to advocate what as a human you share with it. But it'll be interesting to see over time if that actually then takes a negative direction en masse, whether or not the AIs come back and they are more challenging, they are more cynical, a little bit more skeptical about the prompting that their humans do for them. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I guess the proof is in the history books, which will be written at that point. But do you feel hopeful about AI?
Oh, I'm very hopeful. We used to have lunatics in the street. We will keep on having lunatics in the street. No, that's it. Nothing changes. No, I'm not worried. I'm not worried. Because very early on, when I started using computer, I've always taught people and understand that there was a control Z. You can always step back. So we, I'm fine. And all those, and I've seen it all. People were afraid of Y2K or social media or you name it, and you have reason. I mean, nothing is totally positive or negative. It's fine, perfectly fine. If anything, we're gonna get out of that enhance as a species. I'm sure.
So I've read recently, I've got a final question for you, because I guess this might be a direction that some of your work is at least going in, I'm sure, is the whole thing about robotics. I was reading an article this morning, and there's obviously the next big race is this whole idea of voice integration with robotics. And is it going to be from China? Is it going to be from the US? There's obviously a lot of debate about where the impetus is coming from. Do you see the next big thing for voice AI being through robotics, or will we be talking to our screens or our mobile devices for the foreseeable future?
The tagline for our company is we are a voice first company. I believe we're going to be a voice only company. That's my vision. So I'm pretty sure it answers the question pretty definitely. Remember years ago when scientists were saying that humans in the next 100 years will have huge thumbs, because we will keep on typing, well, here you are, we'll definitely not have big thumbs, but we will talk. Obviously, we will talk. Come on, we already, I mean, after only 2.5 years of conversational public LLMs, we've seen the gap. We've seen the gap. And when you work inside this technology and you see the daily advancement of what it is, come on, 10 years from now, there's absolutely no single way that we will still have even something to keep on our hands. It will be something like this, or in or out. You decide, but we lose our voice. Probably not our voice, maybe our brain. That's, yeah, obviously. But again, it's going to be a synchronized way of communication. You see, this is where I see the major difference. Conversational LLMs brought not necessarily the voice, but it brought the synchronizing of what we are thinking and the technology in front of us, which basically is not anymore in front of us, it's in us everywhere. So now I think even more than voice itself is the synchronization of our mental thoughts, whereas what we're fetching, that is dramatically changing the game.
Exciting times. Laurent, I want to put people in contact with you. Where should they go to look at your work?
They can visit GetOblic.com, the business directory we built around voice. If they're business owners, they can, within 2 minutes, create a listing page, and immediately they will have their own voice AI deployed for free on their page. Well, could be a great way to find out what voice AI can do as a business owner. And on a personal level, if anybody's interested about my work or ask questions or want to dig further into what we discussed this great podcast, they can just go to the footer of GetOblic.com. We have tons of social media. They can just send a message anywhere. I'd be more than happy to reply.
Wonderful. Laurent, I'd love to kind of come back and have another conversation with you, maybe in about a year's time, and we'll see if the things that we've talked about have come true, because I just have a feeling that voice is the game changer for a lot of people. And I think it would be lovely just to see whether actually we were right, because I think we're going to be right.
Let's do that, Neil. Please, let's do that.
And in the meantime, thank you so much for your time.